History was made in Atlanta this afternoon when Jen Powell took the field as the first woman to umpire a regular season game in Major League Baseball's nearly 150-year history. She was on the bases for both games of a doubleheader between the Miami Marlins and the Atlanta Braves. In tomorrow's game, she's going to be behind the plate calling balls and strikes. Earlier, I spoke with Chelsea Janes, the Washington Post national baseball writer. I asked her how Powell found out she'd be working today's games.
She said she was in her hotel room in Nashville and got called to a conference call with two MLB officials who were in charge of umpiring. And they told her, this is your moment. And she called her crew chief, so the guy who's in charge this weekend, and they started yelling over the phone. A grown man who generally has to kind of maintain decorum on a baseball field, just kind of screaming into the phone with her, which is just really kind of special to hear about.
Tell me a little bit about her background. How did you become interested in umpiring?
Jen played college softball. She wanted to umpire from the day she first tried it, even in high school, like as a throwaway side job. And when she got done playing, she kind of looked into it, umpired high school baseball in upstate New York, even umpired college softball in New England and New York. So she was pretty much at the highest level she could get to for that and wanted more, wanted it to be a career instead of something she got paid a couple $100 a weekend to do. So she ended up hearing about a clinic. And at a clinic, she met a major league umpire named Ted Barrett. And he said, "Hey, you're pretty good at this. I also host a clinic down in Atlanta." She attended it and was funneled into the minor league system from there.
Talk about how that works, how umpires work their way through the minor league system.
It used to be the kind of thing you had to sort of buy your way into these schools and prove yourself. And Major League Baseball said that's eliminating too many people. So they started hosting more open clinics that you could sign up for and learn, and they would evaluate you there. That's what Jen did. And she kept passing the test level by level. And a few years ago, she got promoted to AAA, which is the highest minor league level. She not only got promoted there, but she was given the championship game because she did so well. And, after that, sort of got on the short list to make it to Major League Spring Training. And this year finally got in this pool of umpires where if they need someone to fill in, like they did this weekend, they could choose her, and they did. So she's not full time in the big leagues yet. Those jobs do not come open very often. People cling to them as you would think they would. But when one opens, she's close.
You mentioned Ted Barrett. You mentioned her crew chief today. Has she gotten a lot of support from both former and current umpires?
She really has, and I think it's fair to wonder if that was gonna be the case. This is something that it's very different, and it's a role where you're not used to seeing women. And, even I, when I first heard about this, I was like, will the players yell at her more? Will they yell at her less? Will they take her seriously? But, I think once you see her handle this, you kind of understand, oh, it she handles herself in a way where you really don't notice until you think about it. And I think that's what those umpires saw too.
You pointed out in your story in the Post that Major League Baseball almost had a robot calling balls and strikes before they had a woman calling balls and strikes. How does baseball compare with the other professional sports in this sense?
They're a little behind. The NBA had female referees in the late '90s. The NFL had them about a decade ago, I believe. The NHL still hasn't had one. I think the general consensus is part of that is the breaking up fights part is a little bit tricky. Baseball was behind. She's been in the pipeline for a long time, and now there are more women there. But yeah, they've tested automatic balls and strikes, and they're going to introduce them on a limited basis. But yeah, they got farther with that more quickly than they did with women, and I don't think that's too surprising.
Talk about that pipeline. Are there more women coming up?
There are, I believe, 6 umpires in the minor leagues right now. I believe that's counting Jen Powell. They're being vetted the same way that Jen was and that the male umpires are. You probably won't see them at these levels for quite some time. It just takes a while. But yeah, there's more women following in her footsteps. And I think, there's reason to believe that we'll see more of them in the big league soon.
In the past, a woman had come close to making the majors. Is that right?
Pam Postema came really close in the late '80s and, just didn't find a league that was receptive to her. She's been in touch with Jen Powell throughout this process, and Jen said that when she got promoted to AAA little over a year ago, she went to dinner with Pam, and the last thing Pam said to her was, "Get it done, get it done." And so when she got the call this week, Jen said she texted her, "I'm getting it done."
You talked about how the umpires saw what she does and have supported her. Any sense of in the minor leagues of what the players have reacted?
She shared a story about one third baseman who heard the news this week and said, "Hey, we've done this at every level and I'll see you in the big leagues," and I think they respect it. I've only seen people be really polite and go over and fist bump her like they do everyone else, and but I think people also a little bit even have their eye on her, like, "Hey, go do this," and so I think it's been kind of a really pleasant surprise to see the support she's gotten.
Chelsea Janes of the Washington Post, thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.